Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope the sound quality is okay, and apologies up front if the staffy next door and my Tenterfield Terrier start yapping away enthusiastically. They have a tendency to do that every now and again. I'm cognizant of time and understand that we all lead very busy lives, and appreciate the fact that we have our favourite bloggers and podcasters who we listen to. So many individuals out there sharing some amazing content. Yours truly, on the other hand, not the most eloquent in delivery, so you're going to have to excuse me if I stumble along every now and again. I'm mindful that discussing topics that involve every single one of us sometimes gets to only move around in an echo chamber. I suspect the task is, how do we spread this information out to people who don't have a good command of the English language? As I dare say, they're probably discussing the same issues. How do we get the Chinese community together and the Indian community together, and all those in the Shire or up in the northern beaches, all over this great country of ours. I have a list here as long as your arm as far as issues that we can discuss, but I'm going to try to keep it superficial in nature. If you can cast your minds back, ladies and gentlemen, to 2020, 21 and 22, the COVID years, there was a common thread that ran through all our lives. Those who followed the public health orders and those who didn't follow the public health orders. And that was that we were under a constant state of control, coercion. There was intimidation, there was bullying, worst of all, fear. Fear crippled everyone. And the behaviour of the constabulary, not only here in this state, but across the country. If someone was to say to you, sit back and take a look at a 3-hour presentation of all those press conferences that occurred across all the states, and listening to TV identities and celebrities and sports stars, all the stuff that was thrown at us, a lot of us would sit back and think, geez, that was pretty full on, and why did we even go that far? Well, with the announcement from the World Health Organization only last week concerning the global emergency around Mpox and monkeypox, my mind went straight back to those days of deep division. Now, could you imagine, if we revisit those days where our grandparents were left alone in nursing homes and in hospitals, where we had 2-year-old children masked up, where we had, people lose their business and families breaking up, and we had healthy children being, told to line up and take an experimental, medicine, which afterwards caused, medical procedures and adverse reactions. Crazy. I certainly don't want to revisit those days, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't either. Now, with the announcement by the World Health Organization around monkeypox, just want to draw your attention very briefly to a release from the AIDS Council of New South Wales, and they wrote, vaccination is only one way to prevent Mpox infection. There is still a risk of infection after getting the vaccine, so it's important to take steps to reduce the chance of catching or spreading Mpox. Now, this is from the AIDS Council of New South Wales, ACON. Now, I suppose that's directed to the gay community and the LGBTQIA plus community. Now, there's another release from the Australian Department of Health and Aged Care. And the interesting thing here is, ladies and gentlemen, and all this information that I'm relaying to you has been circulated across social media. Now, a lot of the stuff on social media is good, some of it is bad. Now, we can say the same thing about mainstream media. So what do we ask, and what do I pray for? I pray for discernment. I'm a believer in my Lord Jesus of Nazareth, the Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. But I see everyone as brothers and sisters. Now, the interesting thing is, this release from the Australian government, the Department of Health and Aged Care, this was a release from the 12th of December 2022. So that's almost 2 years old now. And what was this document on? It's a 6-page document. It's on monkeypox. And it's information on this particular vaccine. It's information on the Jynneos. I think that's the way it's pronounced. Jynneos. It's a modified Vaccinia Ankara Bavarian Nordic MVA-BN vaccine. And in this document, released in December of 2022, there are subheadings on what is monkeypox, about the vaccine, who can get this vaccine, what you need to know before you receive the vaccine, what to expect after vaccination, and Australian Immunisation Register. Look, we've been down this path before. Very familiar. So this document put together in December of 2022, and now the World Health Organization has come through last week and declared a global emergency on monkeypox. I don't know. Join the dots, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just providing you with the information here. There's also another release from the same organisation, Jynneos. 2 doses of the vaccine are required for maximum protection, given at least 28 days apart. The vaccine is most effective 2 weeks after the second dose and gives an 80% protection against Mpox. There is still a risk of infection with the virus that causes Mpox, but if you are vaccinated, it may mean you only experience mild symptoms. Same language. It's the same message. Now, are you willing to put yourself in that position to receive? There may be people who still are. I'm not quite sure. It says who should be vaccinated. The following people are eligible to be vaccinated against Mpox: all sexually active gay and bisexual men, cis and trans, that's in brackets, sex workers, sexual partners of the people above. So it's people involved in sexual activity. How does that involve everyone else? I'm not 100% sure. Do we need the Mpox vaccination? Again, I'm not quite sure. But if the media come through again like they did last time and push with a relentless force that you need to take this, some questions need to be raised then. But this is all very familiar, like I said earlier on. Now, there are other topics that we can discuss at length, but this one was important because I think it's going to take priority in the upcoming months. If enough people become frightened, and that's where it all comes back down to. Are you going to be scared enough, frightened enough for yourself and for your family that you will be again listening to the health authorities and to those in positions? And it's difficult not to discuss politics here, because political affiliations are they important? But it's always part of the conversation. Now, as far as yours truly is concerned, Liberal, Labor, Greens, Independent, there are good people working within all those parties. But unfortunately, there are also individuals who aren't working for our best interests. Also wanted to draw your attention to something else, the last thing on COVID. COVID, we can talk for hours and hours and hours, and the most disappointing aspect of the whole COVID discussion was that there were plenty of medical professionals, professors, doctors around the world and in this country who were censored, who wanted to express their views and were censored, were rubbished. And I dare say now there is a tsunami of content to suggest that everything that you and I were told, may not have been the truth. And again, I hope any of the conversation here doesn't make people feel uncomfortable, and I hope this particular podcast isn't censored, because unfortunately, one of the other topics I've got here is the Safety Commissioner and the whole discussion around misinformation and disinformation. Maybe the content that we're discussing here today could be deemed misinformation and disinformation. All I'm doing is just raising some questions and passing on some content. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention concerning COVID, Robert Kennedy Jr., he explained in a thread how President Bush placed Dr. Anthony Fauci. Remember the individual, Dr. Anthony Fauci? He was the man at the front of all the discussion around this. He was put in charge of developing bioweapons for the Pentagon as part of the Patriot Act in 2002. Now, a lot of people have zero interest in American politics. But remember, it started from there. This whole COVID issue started from there. Now, I'm not going to get into any deeper conspiracy theories. I'm just presenting the information here. In 2014, Obama shut down 18 of Fauci's gain-of-function experiments after lab leaks and 300 top scientists raised concern about his dangerous experiments with potential pandemic pathogens. And when they shut them down, 3 viruses escaped from these US labs. So then Dr. Anthony Fauci moved his bioweapons research to Wuhan. So it all trickles from there. Now, we can sit here and we can discuss all this now because there is a tsunami of content available where everyone can do their research. But if we had these conversations 3 years ago, boy, we would have been in real deep trouble. But when they come again, ladies and gentlemen, and they will come again with the fear-mongering and the coercion and the control, I just pray and hope that we're in a position as a collective, as a group, to stand strong and ask the pertinent questions. I'm not going to stand here and tell everyone, don't comply and, go out there and boots on the ground and revolutionary. And I'm a man of peace. Yes, during the COVID years, I was on the front lines, as many of you were also. And there was a lot of anger and a lot of fury and a lot of bitterness. But on reflection, that's not really Christ-like. I'll stand for the truth, but we've got to do it. We've got to do it peacefully, and we've got to do it together. There's another Labor senator, and it sounds like I'm picking on the Labor and the Greens, but look, I may have mentioned this earlier. Politics in this country, and I know people who work in the Labor Party. They're wonderful people. They're beautiful people. But Labor, Liberal, what's that saying? Same wings of, 2 wings of the same bird. Well, whatever that saying is, it's pretty true, isn't it? There's a Labor senator by the name of Tim Ayres. He made a little speech, and this is what he said: "There is a wellspring of COVID conspiracy theorists that inhabit the benches over there," and he was pointing towards Malcolm Roberts and Senator Babbitt. "We know that they come from some of the outer reaches of cuckoo conspiracy theorists and their views. They are mobilised by concerns of chemtrails, lizard people, fluoride conspiracies. They're on the Pizzagate material, the JFK stuff, the Oswald stuff. You're all sooks. This is the behaviour of individuals in positions of authority and representation. Now, a lot of the stuff that he just mentioned, a lot of people might not believe in. Now, you're probably going to think, well, what's your stance, Steve? Well, a lot of these conversations need to be in an open forum. Do I believe in chemtrails? I know a lot of very close friends who don't believe in chemtrails, but they still believe in the wrong behaviour and the way government treated people during COVID. We may not agree on everything, but as long as we do it in a respectful manner. Again, I won't hold you too long, and I've spent a few minutes, and there's so much more we can discuss. But I want to leave you with, it's a bit of a strange one, but if anyone's got binge, watch a movie called The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. It's a lovely film. It hasn't got explosions and there isn't rampant nudity. You know, there aren't bodies being decapitated, which seems to be the go on almost every, I was going to call them channels, but entertainment apps, like your Netflixes and your Stans and whatever it is, seems to be the go with entertainment these days. This particular movie, have a look. It's a lovely film. It's around hope and inspiration, and in this very same room during those COVID years, I sat up here and I penned quite a number of short stories around hope and inspiration and family and togetherness with an Australiana feel, and God willing, one of these days down the track I hope to share them with you. But until then, please stay together and just be mindful to help one another. Be good, do good. God bless.